All right, I'm showing 7 o'clock. Everybody ready?
Ready.
All right, I'm gonna try something here. We'll see if it works. So bear with me because I've never done this part of it before. So let's see what happens. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Look at you.
Great.
All right. Just in case somebody forgets. If you please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That way we only caught 3 or 4 of you on screen. Madam Superintendent, do you have any comments this evening?
No, ma'am.
All right. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting held April 14th and the reconvened meeting March 23rd, meeting held April 21st? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is that Lori? Was that Lori? I don't know who all is here.
Yeah,
I've only seen Lori and Wendy and you. Is Mark on?
Yeah, Mark
Yes.
and Gary are both on.
Mark and Gary are both on as well.
Everybody's on. Okay, I haven't seen anybody else.
All right, so we have a motion by Lori. Is there a second?
Second by Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Any corrections or discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from the regular board meeting held April 14th and the reconvened March 23rd meeting held April 21st? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, no citizens' comments this evening?
No, ma'am.
All right, then we go down to the consent agenda. Are there any changes or deletions or anything to the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Anyone?
I'm just pulling it up.
Mr. Cable, was that you?
Hello.
I think you're on mute.
I just unmuted him. Go ahead, Mr. Cable. You're unmuted.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Mr. Cable, you made the motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes.
All right, is there a second?
This is Wendy. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda? If so, make sure you unmute. Laura, I see you talking, but I don't hear you.
Wait. I'm trying to unmute Lori and the program won't let me. Apparently it knows something I don't because I don't know. I don't know what you oh, there you go, Lori.
It goes. I had to click it, but I was going over the agenda piece and I couldn't find you back, so it's my fault. And I'm saying second, forgetting I had muted myself. You couldn't hear my howling dog in the background.
All right.
Okay, we're good.
Any further discussion on the consent agenda? If so, raise your hand wildly and we'll call on you. Okay, all in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, unfinished business. An update on facilities and the status of upcoming facilities projects. Hopefully good news. I have a bad feeling though.
Well, it's like anything else, that things are what they are, and you can interpret them as good or bad as you choose, ma'am. I'm trying to adopt the Zen philosophy these days. So, yes, we do have an update on a couple of things. Number one, the long-range projects, the TA Lowry HVAC MIP project and the Ranson Roof project. As we've searched to try to find advantages during this crisis, some of the things that we started discussing were we have limitations about completing projects in the building when students are there. So we thought, oh, well, let's use this opportunity when students aren't there to get a jump start on things. And sometimes we have great ideas that don't always come to fruition. So we'll let Mr. Jones and Ms. White and Mr. Caton speak on that. And then they are going to also speak on the athletic field development on the Wildwood Middle School, Jefferson High School complex that the board had requested. So I'll turn it over. Ms. White, which of you did you want to start?
Well, first, I'll just give you a little overview. We're going to talk about the TA Lowry SBA project, and Randy will speak to that. Brandon and Randy will talk about the Ranson roof. We'll finish with the Jefferson game field, which Brandon will present, and finally the athletic fields that Brandon will present. So we'll start off with Randy and the SBA TA Lowry project.
Good evening, everyone. Wish I could be in person with you all, but we did get good news from the SBA. They have approved us to go ahead and advertise and bid the TA Lowry project if the board so chooses to do that. So that's the good news. The bad news is there's now a 20-week, 5-month lead time for HVAC equipment due to the COVID-19. So that would preclude us from even being able to start until October or November. My recommendation is to go ahead and advertise it, get bids, so that we can get in line to get the HVAC equipment ordered. I feel like it's only going to get backed up further and further the longer we wait. So that's kind of where we are right now. If you all have some questions about that.
Randy, I have a question.
Yes,
When you say the equipment is backed up 5 months, is that just the unit itself, or is that also the ductwork? I mean, would it make sense to do the ductwork now and then just plop the unit on the roof when it comes in? Or is it something that has to be done all at the same time?
We had talked about possibly doing some of the interior work, particularly the fan coil units with some of the ductwork modifications. That is a possibility. They don't know yet if they can get the fan coil units. I think there's 59 of those that have to be purchased and obtained. So that might be a possibility, but my gut feeling tells me we're going to kind of run into the same thing with any type of equipment that has components that are made overseas. And there's not a lot of duct work that has to be done. So.
I guess the thought though with that would be, I think what I'm assuming, I don't want to do that, but can we get all the inside work done, Randy, so that if we have to wait 5 months and we're already back in school, it's something that just the outside work of placing things on the roof or doing that? Or are we going to be in a situation where we can't get going until next year when the kids are out of the building again? And if that's the case, then, you know, do we feel like we still want to bid that out right now? Do we wait because we think it'll be a better option, even though we're going to be waiting, period, it sounds like? But what are your thoughts on that?
The 59 fan coil units, there's one in each classroom. They're above the ceiling. So though that's the major work that has to occur inside the building. And right now, I don't know that we can get the 59 fan coil units in time for the summer installation. So if that's the case, then we probably are looking at starting next year when school's out. So it's almost a whole year delay. But the uncertainty is when we need to get in line to get our HVAC units and our fan coil units manufactured, knowing that the time period seems to be increasing. Every week that goes by, it seems like we're hearing the delays are increasing by 2 weeks. So until things really start ramping back up, the delays are just going to get longer and longer. So we could be looking at a 6 or 8 month delay. And in which case we'll be looking at whether we advertise it now or next year, we're not going to really get the equipment any sooner. So.
What about this option or this question? Can we go out to bid if we need that many of those cooling units inside, the fan coolers inside, that we know are going to disrupt classrooms? Is it possible to get them from different companies and stay within the same budgetary amount, but get them from different companies, try to pull as many of them in as we can, so that, say we have to maybe shut down 3 classrooms over 20 classrooms, which we'll obviously not be able to do. Is there any benefit of doing that now?
I think that may be a possibility, but I'm sure Brandon would probably not want to have 3 different manufacturers of fan coil units in the building with the new equipment. But if we can get the fan coil units, even if we can get them in 16 weeks or 12 weeks, one thing we can do is we can ask the contractor to work after hours if that's something the board would allow, and they can switch out a fan coil unit above the ceiling in just a couple hours. And so they could systematically go through and do that, but it'd be at the like night shift work. And we did that in Hardy County and it worked well. So that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking we'd use the same company, but say they have to, you know, we would use the same manufacturer of the cooling, the fan cooling, but we obviously, we might find them from 6 different companies that all sell the same kind.
That's a possibility. That's one reason I think we should go ahead and get the project out for bid and see what the mechanical contractors can tell us what they can and can't do, so that we at least we know what our options are. Right now, everybody's reluctant to give me anything definitive because we don't have a project that we're bidding right now. So.
Okay. And we've been waiting to bid this on the SBA approval?
Yes.
Okay.
And we got the letter from them, I think it was a week ago, Monday.
Okay.
So we can advertise it, get bids. If the bids are not acceptable, if they're over budget, or we don't feel like it's advantageous to the school system, we can reject those bids and then go back out later in the summer or later in the fall if we want to. So we have options, we have flexibility. Any other questions I can answer?
I think we're good on TA Lowry, or at least as good as we can be right now, just moving forward and trying to see how much we possibly could do, you know, so it's not as disruptive, or so we don't have to wait an entire year.
Agree.
And we already voted to go out for that project, so we don't have to re-vote again for that. Am I correct?
I
To go
believe
out
that
for
is
bid.
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next project.
So we have been working with Brandon and Joyce on the Ranson roof replacement project. We received bids several weeks ago, and there were several discrepancies within the bids that we received. Some of the contractors provided some of the information, some provided information that we didn't ask for, and there were just some discrepancies in there. So we thought, rather than try to sort through that and risk having any type of a conflict there, that we would re-advertise it. And we made sure the bid package addressed those issues. We're hoping we'll get the same bidders that will look at the project again this time. So we're asking the board if we can go ahead and proceed with that. We're ready to go. Any questions on that?
Can you repeat that? I don't think I understand exactly what you're talking about.
The Ranson roof replacement project, which the school division put out for bids last month.
Right.
We received, Brandon, I think we received 3 bids.
Yes, we received 3.
Each of the bids provided something different, but they didn't all provide everything that we asked for. So technically they were all non-responsive. So we clarified that with the new bid documents that we've prepared, and we'd like to put it back out to get new bids for the roof.
Makes sense.
So in doing that, going out to bid, we'll be able to have, and all the old bidders in the pool will know that we're back out to bid. We want it to be a very level playing field for them. And so once we go out to bid, we would bring you a recommendation. Brandon, which board meeting is that? The next board meeting?
The bids are due on May 15th, so we won't be able to make the May 11th board meeting, so it'll be on the May 27th.
And we are asking that that project can proceed. I'd like Randy to talk a little bit about roofing materials. We've all researched that, and we're confident at this point we can get the roofing materials in and go ahead and replace that roof during the summer.
So fortunately, roofing materials kept in pretty large stockpiles. For this particular project, it's relatively small. We have a little over 10,000 square feet of roofing that's needed. So that's considered to be a small job in the construction world. So we should not have an issue getting materials for this particular project.
And Ms. White, you've let all of the 3 bidders that did bid on the job know that they were incomplete, so that they would all have the opportunity to come back?
Yes, ma'am. We sent them a letter stating that they were incomplete, and Brandon will make contact again so that they're able to resubmit a bid.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's very important that what the project that we have is reflected properly in the bid.
We agree completely, which is why we want it done right at the starting gate. So we've let everybody know that so that we can have an excellent project on the back end.
You know, if I may back up just a little bit, we were talking a while ago about having possibly different manufacturers supply parts for the elementary school. It's been my understanding in the past that the more parts you have to build this thing with, the more parts you have to have on hand for maintenance, and that can get to be a real bugaboo. And so I wouldn't agree with that. It's you know, if it takes 29 parts, let's have 29 parts of the same thing. That's like having a Chevy and a Ford and a Mustang, and you have to have parts for all of them. We don't need to do that. We got a shed full of parts now. I don't think we need any more than what we absolutely need.
Yes, sir. I agree with you 100%. And when we advertise the project, we will make sure everything comes from one manufacturer, one source, so that Brandon in future is able to get the parts he needs from one particular manufacturer.
Yeah, I think he's got all his hair now. He doesn't need to lose it.
I don't have much, man. I don't have a lot.
Then we had something on the Jefferson High School field.
Yes, Brandon will speak to that.
Right. So we have a proposal to fix the Jefferson High game field because the original plan was going to be about $180,000 to install trench drains around the field, which would have been fine. But if in the future turf is ever installed in that location, we would have to rip it all out. It would not have been compatible. We searched a lot to find something that would be compatible, and it's just not possible. So I did meet with Clear Vision, who already works at Jefferson High on the game field, and they feel that they can bring the game field back to its original state for the price of $21,766. And it's mainly going to be bringing in 120 tons of topsoil to go from about 60 feet off the track and bring it back towards the track to fix where that huge pond was this fall. And it's a short-term fix. I want to be completely transparent and honest. In my opinion, it's a short-term fix. It will get us through the next 5 years. But you're still going to have the same challenges that you have always had with a natural grass field. If you're having boys soccer, girls soccer, varsity football, JV football, and middle school football playing on it every single week, you will still have dead spots. It will still be muddy. It will still be sloppy if we get a lot of rain. So that is one proposal that we have to fix that and have it ready to go by August. Is there any questions on that?
So
First,
Brandon,
I just want to say kudos to you, Brandon, for actually finding us a much less expensive solution when, you know, as all of us have walked those fields with you independently and, you know, made it extremely clear we've got to have a turf field there. We know we have to have that. So to spend all that extra money, and I don't think any of us see us waiting even 3 years. I mean, it's probably going to take that long to get what we need to be able to build that and then get it in. But yeah, I don't see any reason why we would spend that much money to put drainage in that we can't use. And it sounds like a good solution in my opinion. Wendy, were you going to say something? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah, it was pretty much the same thing. I mean, it sounds like a good solution, and you know, hopefully we get the when we go to do the turf field, then you know we take care of it at that point. You know, but this seems like a good interim solution at a much better cost.
How long
Is
will
a-
this last, Brandon?
The Clear Vision feels that it's going to take it back to its original state. They feel that it'll last as long as we continue to take care of our grass and the field and fertilize it and aerate it and things of that nature. But it's still not going to be able to handle the amount of playing that it takes each week. It takes a beating, and you're still going to have the same challenges. If it was just a boys or girls soccer field or just a varsity football field, it would be very nice. But when it's played on 5-6 times a week, it just doesn't have a chance to recover.
If they do that now, is it gonna have enough sod on it to play on it this fall if
Yes, sir.
that happens? I don't think that'll happen, but if it did,
Yeah, the sod that we would install, it only needs about 5 weeks to take root, to be played on. And this is what these guys do, that this is their area. We obviously, because of the price point, I'll have to find 2 other interested vendors to make a bid on the job. So there's nothing that says that they're going to get it, but we did work and come to a good plan of action. I feel to make it work, and really it's the same plan that the engineers that we had already met with and spoke with about the project. It's just not the trench drains. The trench drains was where a lot of the cost was.
And we can be assured that the track will be taken care of carefully.
Yeah. So it'll all be done with small skid loaders, and we'll take the proper safety precautions if they got to put steel plates down to get over the track and things of that nature. But it should be completely fine as long as we watchdog it and we make sure that where they're not coming in there with the skid loaders and turning completely at a 90-degree angle on the track. It'll be fine to drive straight across. Yes.
Okay.
Better put your steel plates down first.
Yes, the steel plates down first.
Now, we don't have action to go out for bid for that. Is that something that we need to put on the next agenda?
That would be left to you guys. Yes. Given the price point, it doesn't require an RFP, but that's up to you. We can certainly put it out as an RFP.
I think the threshold, Kathy, is 25,000. So
Yes.
Brandon's saying it's coming in at 21,000. So we'll just require 3 written bids, and then we would be able to go ahead and pick a vendor to complete the project, if you all are so inclined.
I'm inclined.
I
Sounds
think that's the
reasonable.
best idea.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll pursue that avenue. Thank you. And the last topic we have this evening, Brandon will be talking about the fields that, different proposals for the Warm Springs or Wildwood Middle, properties, and he will present the phases of those plans and the costs.
Okay. So do you guys have have you guys seen the phases and the master plan?
So Brandon, this is the point
Yes.
at which I will do a screen share with everyone,
Oh.
and I will put up the master plan on here. So everyone should be able to see my screen, in which you have the Wildwood Middle School and the long range planning for the competition and practice fields. And Brandon, you simply talk through this and I'll scroll down through these.
Okay.
And then I have the phase 1 and the site costs as well when you're ready for me to pop those up.
All right. Thank you. So this is the master plan. So this would be our long-term range plan for the entire complex. You can see the 2 fields that are directly behind the building. The one on the higher end that Dr. Gibson's mouse is at, that is the competition field. So that would be a full-size regulation football field, soccer field, lacrosse field, whatever we may want it to be. It will satisfy that. Closer to the fence is where we're proposing to put on the other side, Dr. Gibson, the upper end there of it. That's where we'll have the bleachers for the competition field. Will be closer to the property line there. Oh, there it is. Yes. So that's where the bleachers will be. And you can see the new sidewalk that is coming down from the parking lot and down into the middle. This right here is the proposed area for a modular press box. Obviously, that is not something that we need immediately, but felt that it was best to give you the full vision of what possibilities you have here at this location. The multi-purpose set practice field beside it will actually sit a little lower than the competition field. And it will not be a full out regulation size field though. So everyone needs to understand that it will be specifically for practice. It will have plenty of room to practice soccer and football, but it will not be an area that will hold games or any type of competition event. And then your farthest back practice field, I'm sorry, I'm skipping numbers, aren't I? Let's go to field number 3. That's where band practices now. This is going to be a little bit different than what they are accustomed to. But we did actually, it's increased the size quite a bit though, because right now they pretty much use about 40 yards from what I've seen. They don't really use a whole lot more than that. But with this design, we would be able to hold band practice and also boys soccer, girls soccer, whatever we wanted to. Field number 4, that is currently where varsity and JV football practice at the moment. And again, this will be a practice field. It will be very, very close to a full-size field, but it will not hold it won't be good enough to hold a game or anything like that. And then you have multi-purpose number 5. Number 5 is the smallest of all of them. And this is basically us just trying to squeeze out every inch of purposeful, acreage that we have. So we would be able to hold something down there. It would be with our practice rotations. We could easily rotate the teams through different days of the week on that. And then field number 6 is all the way in the back, and that will by far be the most expensive to develop because that has a strong slope running down to the stormwater pond that you see there on the sketch. Is there any questions about the layout or the master plan for the soccer and football?
Yeah, Brandon, I'd like to
Yes.
just ask a question. If
Sure.
if my memory serves me correctly, this back end of the school has all the pipe work, the electricity and all that stuff. It was dead ended there with the
Yes,
idea
sir.
that in the future, if there was a need for an addition to that building, that all that stuff would already be there and you wouldn't have to tear up something else around there in order to get those things to the new building. It would all come together. Now,
Yes, sir. You are correct.
is this going to allow room for a future addition if that should become necessary? If these fields are as close as they look to be, it doesn't look to me like there's any expansion room there.
You're going to lose a lot of it. Yes, you are correct. You would, if you wanted to add the building out into that area afterwards, you would have to take some of the fields. You would have to take some of the field space. You are 100% correct.
Is there? Well, I don't know. It doesn't look to me like there's that much area where you could put, like at the side towards the road down here. The only real space you would have would be to take up, and that would be kind of awkward, it looks like, if you moved out towards Shenandoah Junction Road.
Yeah, I mean that would be pretty much your only option without taking away some of the field space would be to go out towards Shenandoah Junction Road. I mean, Randy, if he wants to jump in, this would be more of his realm. But it just looking at it, I think you would have to take some of the field space. Yes.
The bottom portion of Wildwood Middle School is a 2-story academic wing. If that was expanded out towards practice field number 2, we could probably add about 10 classrooms out in that direction in a single-story addition before we would impact the field, or we could add about 20 classrooms in a 2-story configuration. So I think there's probably enough room to expand for classrooms. Right now, I don't recall, and I can certainly go back and look to see what the future expansion plans were for Wildwood. I do remember seeing that on the other architects' plans, though.
I don't remember either. In fact, I've never seen the architect's work on it, but I just wondered. It's just something because I knew that those facilities were placed there on purpose.
I can, yes, sir. I can certainly go back and look at that and make sure. From what I remember, they had an outline on the plans showing the future addition. But I don't think it was more than 10 or 12 classrooms. I might be mistaken, but I can check that and get back with Joyce and Brandon.
Okay, that's great.
Anything else about the master plan before we move to the competition field sketch?
Brandon, will all the parking stay the same on the
Yeah.
plan? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All the parking stays the same.
Okay.
And then Brendan, the only question I had was when you were showing the bleachers in between the 2 fields. So you have 74 and 74. Is that the total seats, or is it 74 seats for both sides?
I believe they are. We had it designed for seating for 300.
Okay. That's what I wanted to be sure. Okay. I think if somebody saw that, they'd be like, well, they only going to give them 74 seats? No, clearly.
Yeah, no.
But I just wanted to clarify in case somebody looked at that and thought that we actually thought it was a good idea to put 74 seats there. So thanks for the clarification.
No, there's a couple sets of bleachers, 4 sets of 5
Okay.
rows, so that it came out to a little over 300 seats.
Okay.
Which could always be added on to, but to start out, we felt that was a decent number to start with.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and on this blow up a little bit closer, it shows you like the culverts that Mr. Cable was referring to. It'll show you where the inlets are and that the manholes need to be buried at a foot deep minimum. So they'll still be there. They'll just be underneath the playing surface at a safe depth for everything.
Okay.
So now we're to the interesting part, is what it will cost.
Okay.
Can we have a drum roll?
Yeah.
So with the phase 1, now phase 1 is just a competition field. As you can see there, the numbers. The main thing that you have to really consider is option 1. You're all in, and this is bleachers, concrete pad, the whole 9, ready to go. Option 1 is to seed the field. Now, when you seed it, you save a great deal of money, but at the same time, it's not going to be ready as quickly because the grass has to grow. So option 1 is $186,356. Option 2 is to sod the field, and that price tag is $250,856. The pros and cons of seeding it: if you seed it, you save yourself $82,000, but it will not be ready and playable by middle of August. There's just no way, because it'll be the dry season and you're not going to grow grass that quickly. The pros and cons of option 2: is that you can sod it, and it may not be ready by middle of August, but it would probably be ready by September. By September, the sod could probably have enough time to take root, and we would be able to hold some Wildwood games there, or boys and girls soccer, and boys and girls soccer would be able to use it as a practice space. The downside is that it costs $82,000 more. And Randy, if you have anything to jump in, feel free if I'm missing something.
No, I think you're correct, Brandon. It's just a lot of it depends on just the type of summer we have, and just getting the field in place. If we have a really wet spring and summer like we've had so far, even getting out there to grade the fields is going to be a challenge. So if we have a dry summer, then that actually will be more favorable towards getting it get the construction going and finished, and get sod in place, or get it seeded. But a wet summer could delay things even more.
So is there any questions about phase one? Because I know this was the emphasis of the board at the last meeting or 2 meetings ago.
So my only question on that is this looks like it says bleachers 74 installed, but does that give us more than 74 seats?
It gives you 4 sets of 74.
It
Correct.
says
Yes.
4 over on the other side, but okay, I just wanted to be sure. It is 4 sets
One
of
set
74.
one set costs you 7,500. 4 sets cost you 30,000.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to be sure that we had enough seats. That's all I wanted to make sure. And I was reading that correctly. All right. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Brandon.
No problem.
This coming fall, would this just be a practice field, or would there be games held on this field?
I see that. I guess that would be up to Dave and the other ADs. I don't believe it would be a good setup for varsity or JV soccer yet, without a concession stand, bathrooms, scoreboard. There's a lot more involved when we start talking about varsity sports as opposed to 8th grade football. And I'm not downplaying 8th grade football in any way, but it's a little bit different. But there's nothing that says that we couldn't make that happen.
Well, one of the issues was really the practice fields, and trying to keep everyone on the campus.
Yes.
So would it be able to be utilized as part of the rotation for all the practices?
Yes, ma'am. I feel that from my understanding of the conversations I've had with Mr. Stewart and Mr. Vines, it was an agreement that yes, while it may be Wildwood's game field, that it would also be included in the rotation for boys and girls soccer for additional practice space.
Well, I'm just wondering if Clear Vision says that they can get sod on the stadium field. I'm not sure why we couldn't get sod on this practice field and have it ready for August. And if that were the case, if we could hold off on the bleachers, if it's not going to be used as a game field, just a practice field, and use that 30,000 to go toward the sod purchase, and not get rid of bleachers, but just put it as, phase 1B, so that we can at least get the grass out there for kids to play on.
Yeah, no, you can absolutely have the sod can be installed and ready. We just need to make sure that we can give it time to take root. At the game field at Jefferson High, we're not talking about nearly as a large area. A football field, I think square footage, Randy, you can correct me, I think it's 80,000 square feet. I think a football field is. So we're looking at developing a much larger area, square footage wise, than the repair over at the game field. You know, the game field, we're talking about maybe 8,000 square feet. So it is a much smaller area, and but it's going to take a little bit more of some intricate, delicate work. Whereas opposed, this is you're working with a blank canvas, and we gotta create something new.
Well, I think the good news too is we really did think that the other site was going to cost us a lot more money to fix it. So if we can do both sites for about the same amount of money that we thought originally, I think, you know, that net, that's a good deal to get us what we need. And this is long overdue. I don't know that we have other options.
Well, once again, too, this all depends on the weather, whether it's sod or seeding.
Does.
Yeah. And the coronavirus. Let's just make sure we keep that out there.
Yes.
Well, no, the other thing, if it gets started this fall, which again, I don't think we're going to do, but at any rate, if we do get started, there's only going to be three games played on it if it stays as what it has in the past. So that, you can take that into consideration too.
Well, and I think too, Gary, number one, you know, having, like Wendy said, all of the kids on campus to provide that safety, security, the AED monitors, the trainers, the things that are necessary for the kids, as well as the fact that I know Mr. Stewart, because of the rainy season we had last year, it would have been nice knowing those storms are coming in to maybe move a JV soccer game up a little bit and have another field to be able to play it on and not have to delay the varsity game, or to be able to get that in both before the rain or the thunder or a storm, things of that nature, and not have so many makeups. It gives them the options that they have not had in the past.
I think it was even more than a lot of the games just got canceled, and then Boosters loses the revenue from concessions, so it had that whole ripple effect. So
Yeah.
it does help with all of that.
Is there anything else on phase one? Okay, so I guess the next board meeting, we will need to get it on the agenda if we are going to go for an RFP for this project. Because we will want to get that ball rolling sooner than later, given the timeline for having to have bids and all that. It's about a month process, month and a couple days. But we did go ahead, Randy and his team did go ahead and prepare you cost analysis for the entire complex. So if we would like to look at phase 1A, phase 1A is the additional amenities that go with the game field. So you have your electrical services, the sound system, the modular press box, the foundations and the installation of it, concessions area, ticket booth, scoreboard, the whole nine. So if we really, now you don't need all of those things, but we went ahead and included them all. And that's at a price of $272,205 for phase 1A. And then phase 2 is the additional practice field for field 2, which is right beside the game field. And that one would cost us an estimated $149,590. And then field number 3, which is where band is now currently, to get that going, we're looking at $243,317. Phase number 4 is where football is currently now. And again, I know this price tag looks a little big, but this is to actually widen and expand the size that they they have currently. They don't really use a whole lot of that field. So this would expand it and make it a little more of a defined area for a price of $105,087. Oh wait, maybe I messed that up. I'm sorry. I had my fields confused.
No.
So phase number 3 was actually fields 3, 4, and 5. I'm sorry. So that's why it was $243,000, 317. Phase 4 is the practice field in the very far back, which will not be a regularly size field for competition. So all in for all 4 phases and all 6 fields, we're looking at $1,021,055.
That's a whole lot of green.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yes, sir. Is there any questions about that? Sorry, I messed up the phases there on the.
Is there any benefit, Brandon, to or any cost savings on if, say, we did field 1 competition field, and then if we did phase 1 and phase 3?
Mhm.
Is there any cost savings or help at all for us for the same people digging up the dirt because they're already there, or being able to move something, or is there anything like that? Or do they bid these all separately so that this will be the price for doing them one job at a time?
The way that they are right now is that it's in one job at a time, mainly because of the large amount of money that it is. There is, and Randy, you can jump in, but when I was speaking with Randy and his team, I believe there would be some benefit if we tried to do phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time, because they are right beside each other. That is practice, or that is field number 1 and field number 2, because you're already there and you already have the equipment there, and it's already, they're already mobilized. So I think there is some cost savings there, but it, as you can see, it also jumps the price quite a bit. And Randy, you can jump in if there's something that I'm missing, but I remember talking to Bill that there was some cost savings there to do field 1 and field 2 at the same time.
Yes, you're correct, Brandon. Mobilization would be the biggest cost, and that can be about a 5% number. And then just the larger the project, the more your unit costs can go down. So you may be able to save 10% by bundling some of these into larger packages. And you also may attract some of the larger contractors that otherwise might pass on just doing one field as opposed to 4 fields. So I think there's definitely some cost advantages to doing it if that's something that the board would like to consider doing.
One of the things that I think it's important for the board to make some decisions on while you're exploring this is, per Brandon's note, we have to come back to you with an RFP in 2 weeks to say we want to put this out to bid, and knowing what's going in there is going to be pretty crucial. So it sounds like with the 4 phases that we have up right now on the screen share, presuming that 1A, because it's sort of ancillary things that not all of our fields have anyway, so sort of just take that out of the equation for right now, that do you want us just going out for phase 1? And if so, do you want it for grass or for sod? Do you want us going out for phase 1 and phase 2 combined, which looks like it'd be around $400,000, and based on Randy's estimate that he just gave us about cost savings, there may be up to perhaps you said 10%, maybe a $40,000 savings by combining those. What's the direction of the board for how you'd like us to develop that RFP?
At this present time, with uncertainty of finances, I feel that phase one is all we could put out at this point.
I agree with Mark. If we went 1 and 1A, we're talking about $500,000, close to, well, actually more than, and that might be a squeeze. I agree that's the best way to go, but
Well, I think, Gary, 1A is the ancillary pieces, so we'd be looking at phase 1 and phase 2 would be those 2 fields. Still a significant amount of money, but just so you know.
That's still 400,000.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
And this has to come out of our present budget, which we're not exactly sure what, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to get from the state the rest of the way in, to be perfectly honest with you.
I agree with Mark.
Can I ask you a quick question about phase 3? Because that's for the current band, the current football, and the new number 5, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And number 3 and number 4 that already exist, they're not ideal, but are they working for the moment? I mean,
Yes. For what they're being used for, yes.
okay. And they would continue to be used for that, for the band and for the football practice?
That would be up to the J-High administration, but I would assume that yes, they would still be used for band and football, or they would be expanded into a new rotation where things were changed a little bit differently.
Is there a possible way to have the RFP quote number phase 1 and phase 2 separately and together? Just because of the fact that number 1, finances are, a concern, but at the same time, adding 2 fields as opposed to 1 field may make a big difference because of the fact that we have to remember those fields do not have lights. And so they can only be used for certain times of the day in, the fall time once it's dark.
We certainly can bid it out that way. It's just we will have to make sure that we have it well documented and well spelled out in the bid documents of what we're seeking and what we're asking for.
I mean, $150,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but at the same time, we've been working really hard to get practice fields on site for those schools.
And I agree with you, and I don't think there's anything wrong with putting that out to bid in that way. We're not committing to it at that point yet. So it just gives us an idea of what it might cost to gather.
We can see what that savings will actually be and if it's worth doing it now or doing it later based on being a little closer to knowing how bad or how much better this will get.
I understand.
Well, and as Mark said a while ago, or as he alluded to, we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of this year, and we don't know what's going to start out next year from the state, because the state's losing revenue, and you know how they do. They tell you we're going to give you 100 million, and they give you 20. So, we don't want to get caught in the middle.
Yes, sir. So if I understand the will of the board correctly, you would like for us to develop an RFP in which a company would bid on the phase 1 project competition field, the phase 2 project practice field, and both those separately, and then a variation of them combined to see any cost savings off of those. we'll come back to you at the May 11th meeting for permission to go out for an RFP so that you can get the bid and just look at it. You're not committing yourself to those expenditures. As the superintendents are receiving the same information that the board members are, that there is a great deal of revenue uncertainty right now. And we are trying to be very conservative in our projections and our expenditures. So am I correct in that's the will of the board? Because I want to make sure I'm documenting and directing the staff appropriately.
Yes, and the only up in the air is sod or grass.
Probably we should see it bid both ways with sod and grass.
Okay, it's a good idea.
Sod would be the best, but let's see.
Depends on how deep your pocket is.
Let's hope everybody's pretty hungry and we get aggressive bids, right?
That's right.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to see off of the screen sharing of either the costs or the fields before I move it back off of screen sharing and on to the back on the Zoom meeting?
I would just say this is good though. Thank you. This is really helpful. It's very visual. There's not really a lot of questions with it. So thanks for, this looks good.
Yeah, we have a long range plan. Looks good.
Yes.
Randy did a good job.
Okay.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
All right. New business. Action on approval to seek RFPs for CPA firm for fiscal year 2020 to 2022 to conduct the annual financial audit.
So moved.
Gary, is that the motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second, Lori. Yep.
Ms. Marone, did you have anything to add to that?
No, ma'am.
All right. All in favor of going out to seek RFPs for the CPA firm?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. Now, the next one is request to go out to bid for copiers.
That actually is something that we placed on there based on the fact that our current copier lease had reached the end of its period and an extension. And Joyce had very diligently, she and Beth Marone had looked at the current copier leases and putting out an RFP to explore what other companies might be interested. And in doing so, one of the things that we came to the conclusion is that we have a very, very good copier lease right now. And we believe that when we go back out for bid, there may well be an increase in that cost. And we have staff who, if we go out to an RFP and end up with a different company, they would be returning back to a new school year, a very uncertain time with us trying to swap out a lot of copier machines in the district. So we had a discussion with the current providers and they were willing to give us a 1-year extension on our lease with some cost savings, and Ms. White can speak to that. I think it was up to 38,000.
Right. They are inclined to continue to give us the leased copiers in our schools with unlimited supplies, except for our paper, and we'll actually reap a savings of $38,000 by doing so. So given, as Gary was talking to some of the financial uncertainty, we felt that it was best to just go with that and let it ride.
So if we can either get some, there are limits to how long we can extend that lease. We are going to at some point have to go back out for an RFP, but if we can keep the cost savings that we have right now and not subject our staff to any more uncertainty and change than we have to, then that's our preference. So
Is this a 1 year or 2 year extension?
It's for 1 year.
For 1 year.
That's correct.
Well, then we'll have to look at it next year.
Yes, sir.
I think it's great that we can get that cost savings though. Want to be sure when we go out to bid that we're not shortchanging schools on the types of copiers they have and the amount of copiers they have.
Thank you. I agree.
Yes,
I
sir.
thought we did that on this round. Did we not do that on this round?
I think we did that pretty well on this present round that we're in. I'm glad to hear we can come back under that contract for less money.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have a formula based on the number of students and the developmental level for how many copiers and what paper. And we've really have done a lot of training with the staff on the functions of being able to scan in paper things and then make them electronic and email them to folks. And it's given the fact that our instructional model has changed so much more so and so much more quickly than people thought, we may find that we don't have quite the same level of need as people thought they had for paper. So we may be able to push that even further. So.
And I will say too, Mark, that I have asked principals their input and made sure that when we came back with the copier formula, they were comfortable. So we've had dialogue with the principals already about what their copier needs are.
Okay, I think that's very important. Thank
I do
you.
too. You're welcome.
Why is my name not under my picture?
All right, so we don't have a need to go out for bid for copiers then. We can scratch that off.
We can scratch that off. Thank you.
All right. And thank you for doing that, Ms.
You're
White.
welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have executive session with employee hearings.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a separate dial-in number for everybody. So do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion.
So moved. Second, Osborne.
All right, Wendy and Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Jones, for joining us this evening.
Absolutely.